Hello, YouTubers. This is the fifth module of the series that I've started to introduce developing modern web applications in ASP.NET MVC. At the beginning, we started talking about models and how important they are to shape our data and shape, how we are supposed to represent our data and have some control on top of that. We talked about controllers, and we also talked about views and how we can control these views directly from the models by using really cool annotations that somehow gives us more control without having to worry about writing specific or custom scripts to control the input from the client side that is coming for a certain property on a certain model. So these are the three pillars of an ASP.NET MVC model view controller, MVC. What I want to talk about today is security. How do we secure our app? So it is known that every application may or may not allow few things to happen to the user that is logged into the app based on the role of the user. So some users are admins, some users are just users, there are super users. It's up to you to choose the role that you want to assign to a certain user. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can control that. First of all, when you start your app, an ASP.NET MVC application gives you out of the box a functionality to register and log in. It even takes it to the next level when it gives you the ability to integrate with other services. You could actually use the integration service like LinkedIn, you could use Facebook, you could use Twitter, you could use any other service provider to allow users to log in that particular application of yours without actually having to have an account, as long as they have a Facebook account or LinkedIn account or whatever other, they could log into your app using that. But we will talk about this in a more advanced series. What we're talking about today is very basic security stuff around your app. So out of the box, any ASP.NET MVC app that you have comes in with register and log in. So the register module asks you to put in some email. So I'm going to just put my email in here, and then I'm going to put in some password. And by the way, passwords come in with really strict rules. Like you have to use special characters, and you have to use uppercase, lowercase, all kinds of things. So I'm going to register the password and confirmation do not match. They have the entire thing in here. So let me try to make sure that I'm using the same password. So I'm registering myself here. So I'm clicking registration. It'll go automatically and enlist a new user in the database. So now I am a registered user, and it mentions on top here, it puts in my email address. Of course, you could control that at some point and put in just the username instead of their entire email address, hello, blah, and you could log off. And then we can go back in and use our information. So I'm gonna have to type it here to make sure. There you go. Remember me, log in. There you go. So this is the basic functionality that comes out of the box when you initiate an ASP.NET MVC app. But how can you take advantage of that? So let's say, for instance, I have the Cups controller, and the other day I think we built Apple's controller, if I remember. Here you go, Apple's controller. So we have two controllers. Let's go ahead real quick, right down to the view. By the way, if you're modifying the view, you don't have to stop your application. So let's go down real quick to the shared view. Let's go to the layout, and let's add a link to Apple's controller. So we want it to say Apple's, the index page, and Apple's controller, title, we have the controller name, you have the title, you have the action, and then you have the title. I wanna make sure this is right, so I'm just gonna. So what do we have here? We have the link text, the action name, and the route values. So the link text is apples. The action is index, and the route values, which is your controller, is apples. There we go. So just by me doing that, excuse me, if I go back to my app, I should see apples showing up here. I don't have to restart that because that's client side. It's just HTML rendering, so it won't hurt a lot. So you could go from apples to cups, like I said, just by adding that in the layout, which is a shared thing that stays on top here. No matter where you go, it stays on top here of your app. So okay, now we're talking about security. How do we secure certain controllers based on users? So I'm going to show you here two things. General authorization, which means that any user that's logged in could access this particular controller from that view. The second thing I want to show you to do is authorization based on the role of the user. So you could be logged in, but if you don't have that particular role, you won't be able to pursue with that controller. So let's start with the basic one. You'd be surprised how easy that is on ASP.NET MVC. So we want to secure the cups controller. You would think, oh, okay, then I need to check if the user is not null, and I need to, go check in the database if that user exists. No, you don't have to worry about any of that. All you need to do, go on top of your controller, put an annotation, and just say authorize. So just by doing that, you have protected your controller generically. Anyone who is authorized on the app will be able to access that controller, otherwise they won't. Let's see how that works. So we authorized here the cups controller. So I'm going to start my app. Hopefully it doesn't remember my session, so it logs me in automatically. It did. So I'm going to log off. And then I'm going to try to go to the cups controller. See what happened? It redirected me to the login page. So I need to authorize myself first before I am actually able to use the cups. And once I log in, it will take me back to the cups controller. There we go. So that's a very generic authorization. All it does is that it allows you to access a certain controller just by the very fact that you set in the authorize annotation. You just decorated your controller this way. Boom, you have the authorization out of the box. So you could do even better things using that. So why do I need to display the cups at all if the person is not authorized? So we could go do some Ninja UI stuff in here. So if I go to the layout in here and say I want to hide these two as long as the user is not authorized, well, all you need to do is just use the razor annotation and then say if user, which is the current user, identity, and then is authenticated. If the user is authenticated, then display these things like this. If not, if this value is false, then they won't display at all. Now let's see that in business. Let's go here and let's refresh our app. We expect our hypothesis is that these two will disappear. There we go, because I'm not logged in. So these completely disappeared. If I go and log in, these two showed up. And then you don't even need to go through authenticating controller by controller. Just hide the entire accessibility to that. Someone smart may say, okay, if you hide the accessibility but you don't put a decoration on top of the controller for the cups or the apples, someone could just go and say, yeah, /cups, and here I got in the cups. That's why it's important to protect every controller. But if you're sure that your users are not too smart, and users usually are too smart, then you could just hide the accessibility completely from the person, and this way they are not authorized. So our hypothesis again is that when I log off, this will go away. See? So that's basically authorization. Now let's go to the next level. Let's say I am authorized, but I am not in a specific role to do specific things. So how do we do that? If you go to, let's take these away. Let's go to cups controller. And this very annotation that we used, you could actually go and say, is this person is in role? Let's make up any role we want. Let's say the man. You could actually use the main man. Let's say the main man. You know, that's any role you have in your mind. You could control that by just making up a role. And so this way, so now we're saying if the user is authorized, and as well as he or she has the role of the main man, then they are able to use that controller. Let's see how that works. Now, right now, the account that I have doesn't have any roles in it. So how does that work? Let's see. There we go. Can log in, and we can go to the cups. Kick me out. Why? Because I don't have that particular role that I need to access the cups. I can access the apples, but I can't access the cups because the cups require the user to have that particular role. So how do we assign that role to that user? Unfortunately, ASP.NET MVC doesn't provide you with something out of the box like a UI to do that. But if you go down to the database level, let's go to the database, and our demo is so many things going on. Demo models, app context. Let's go to the tables. So we have apples and cups. Let's refresh that guy. Doesn't seem to be the exact, let's see. Could be up here actually. All right. So let's go ahead and try to go to the users. This is the login that I have used. And let's go ahead and try to go to the roles. I assume there are no roles assigned in here. So what we're going to do is that this user ID, which is the one that was created for me, I'm just going to put it in here. And then it's a little bit twisted, just a little bit, but I'll show you right away how that works. We're going to generate a GUID. You're going to copy that GUID, throw it in here, make sure it matches the format of the database. Yeah, it has a reference, so let's copy that guy in here. Let's go open the ASP.NET roles, which is another database. Give it an ID and say the main man. So we saved that guy. Now we could go to that guy and save, and it will be happy. So what happened here, there's a referential integrity here. You need to have a role here before you reference it in here. So I gave it an ID and I called it the main man, and I used that ID to link it to the user. So you have three tables here. If you're familiar with databases, I use the user ID to link to a role ID, and then that role ID must reference a role name. So now that we have that, let's go back to our app. Now that I have the main man role, let's go and refresh our app. Let's start our app first. Okay, and I am logged in. Now if I go to the CUPS, our hypothesis is that we will be able to actually log in because I have that role, the main man. So if I go in here, that's not good. If I go in, come on, what did I forget? These are the CUPS. See what happened? Why it didn't give me that from the beginning? We could have been cached or something. That's one assumption that I have. So let's go back. Now let's go backwards now. Let's go and change the role name. Let's call it the main dude or something. And let's refresh our database, make sure that this is in there. Let's go to the application, let's refresh. I expect if we're not cached, we go to the cup. Okay, let's try to log out, log back in. Go to the CUPS, boom, you're out, because you don't have that role anymore. So one thing that sort of weird that may need some investigation is if you change the role and the user is in session, that's not going to help you. They have to log out and log back in. But I'm pretty sure, and we could discuss that in a more advanced courses. The other thing is that, you know, if you change you have to understand, like you probably need to, if you want things to be easier for you, you want to build in using ASP.NET MVC as well. You could build in a roles model and generate a controller out of that and make a view out of that. So you can control, add in or remove controllers, or add them to user or remove them from users, however you want. So that's pretty much it. This is security in ASP.NET MVC. You can authorize everybody, or you could authorize only based on certain groups of users. And this gives you the ability to have more confidence that your app is more secure, and you could actually take it out there and market it, you know, knowing that certain users on certain things will be able. Oh, I even forgot to say this. You could even specifically authorize certain users by name if your app is super secure. You could go in and say for this particular user, you can authorize that person. So a user with, I will assume a user with their name, you could go in and say for this particular user, do that. And there's more, even deeper things you could do security-wise for in an ASP.NET MVC application from a security perspective. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. See you next week.